Hey guys, I'm Doug.
And I'm Taylor.
And today we're going to be talking about my favorite nutritional myth.
Hard gainers and losers.
They don't exist.
They do a little bit.
So at any given time, when you talk to somebody about their fitness goals, it almost entirely has to do with aesthetics. I recognize that there are performance-based athletes out there, but when people talk about their bodies, it's what they see in the mirror, it's what they see when they're naked, and they want to either gain weight or they want to lose weight, because almost no one looks at themselves in the mirror and says, I like what I see.
And if you do, you're lucky, I guess.
Or a narcissist.
Or a narcissist, yeah.
Man, that person's beautiful and I love them. Years of therapy or a psychological disorder are going to lead you to that. So people are always saying like they want to change something, right? That's why they're in the gym. Invariably, when they are going to the gym and eating right, they are also complaining that it's not happening fast enough or it's impossible for them to get where they want to get, up or down. So people that want to gain weight or lose weight are very likely to say that there's a reason that is beyond their control or that is harder for them than a normal person when they don't see the results they want. Is that true? Or are they full of shit?
When we're talking about hard gainers or hard losers, we're talking about body type. We have 3 different body types. We have an ectomorph, which is the hard gainer. Very, very skinny. And the hard loser is an endomorph body type. Someone who tends to hold on to more muscle or more body fat. We also have another one in the middle. It's called a mesomorph. So those are the type of people typically that, look at themselves and they're like, oh, I like what I see. And a lot of those people, like you said, they do blame it on genetics. They say, well, my parents were like this, so this is out of my control. Well, your body type is not just determined on your genetics. It's also determined upon your training and recovery regimen. Training is all of your physical activity, and recovery is included, or what's included in recovery is sleep and nutrition. And nutrition is usually that point or the key point that people are missing. It's the missing link. They oftentimes forget to look at the fact that, they may not be eating enough or they think they eat enough but really just don't know that they are. Those are for our hard gainers, whereas for hard losers, these
are people that eat their feelings.
Yes, these are people that eat their feelings and, they don't really have a good gauge on how much food they're actually eating in a day. So if you're not consistently tracking and logging all of this, it's not going to be easy to progress on your goals.
Tracking food by hand-sized portions or general, I know that you overestimate or underestimate or things like that. It's one reason why people aren't going to weigh certain things because they won't know what it is. Everything's a guess, right?
Have you ever weighed your food before?
Never.
Never.
But if I change my macro intake, now, and I recognize the plural of anecdote is not science. So my experience is not someone else's per se. I might actually have an easier time with it based on my own personal practices. At the level that I exist training-wise, a general awareness of the food that I'm taking in changes my eating habits.
Yeah, but you also consider yourself a hard gainer though, right?
No, I think when I was younger, I had the idea that I was a hard gainer because I was a lazy, skinny guy. I was active in my work, but I wasn't working out, and how I ate didn't reflect the level of activity I was in at all. So I was underfueling, but mainly because I didn't know what I was taking in.
So let me ask you a question. If you stop paying attention to your nutrition today for a month, in a month, would you lose weight or would you gain weight from today?
It's a stress thing for me. 195 and 185, depending on where my stress level is where I'm at, and my activity level. And sometimes it's counterintuitive because more cardio will actually stack weight for me for posterior chain stuff. Most people aren't seeing that. Most people start to run and they lose weight. But I also think that the missing piece for most people is accurate tracking. And I know that weighing is part of that.
Yeah.
But I think that much like with dieting, diets that aren't sustainable, no one's sticking with.
So when I tell people to weigh things, I'm not telling them that they should weigh things and you can only eat what's on the scale. I say you should weigh things so you get a good idea of what an amount of something looks like.
So how long do you think that you need to weigh?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Not for very long. But if you are consistently eating chicken, that is, a big part of your diet. If you eat the whole chicken breast, most people don't need that much. That's 10 ounces of chicken.
What if I eat 2 whole chickens in a sitting?
What if you what?
If I ate 2 whole chickens in a setting, don't act like it's shocking.
It's not shocking. I mean, that's fine. It really is. But I just think it's a very beneficial tool for people to know an approximation of how many calories they're eating by how much food they are eating. So no, it's not something that you need to do for forever, and you need to sit there and weigh out every single, item that you put in your mouth. But it's just a good tool to use so that you know essentially what you are having.
So let's start with hard losers. How are hard losers going to adequately fuel for what they want to see, where it's like, hey, I feel fat. I feel like I'm not happy with how I look, whether it be visceral fat or just overall fat, and they have to choose a diet, and they're going, hey, I'm not seeing the changes I want to see.
Typically, for hard losers, people who are trying to lose weight, honestly, they may not be eating enough. Fat is the body's storage form of energy, the most dense form of energy. When you are trying to lose fat, a lot of us think, oh, I just need to eat less, right? Well, that's typically not the case. If you're only giving your body so much energy and then you go to train, to exercise, or just go about your daily activities, if there's not enough energy to take care of those things, your body is going to go into starvation mode. So anytime you start to eat, your body is going to store your food as fat, regardless if it needs to or not. So on the other hand, hard gainers, ectomorphs, or people who have a difficult time keeping weight on, if they're not eating enough, their body starts to break down the protein that composes their muscles. Because you don't have very much fat to burn, then your body next goes to the protein or your muscles to start burning. In order to gain weight, those types of people need to always be in an anabolic state. What that means is you need to always have energy available to you so that you can build muscle. If your body goes into a fast or doesn't have that energy available, then if you put something else in your mouth, it may hold on to it in a sense of storage because your body may not know when it's going to be able to eat again.
So these are skinny guys with fat bellies. It's your skinny fat.
Skinny fat
is the thing, right? And a lot of that is because like hard gainers who are going catabolic, they don't have any carbs. They don't have any fats to pirate. So like the easiest thing to break down is the protein, right?
Yeah, they have nothing stuck to their body. If there's no fat left, the body's next choice or best use of fuel is going to be your muscles.
It seems like a lot of hard gainers in the male population are in manual labor jobs. They already work a lot. Their calorie output is pretty high and they're not eating enough. And like, so when you get done working in the auto garage or the oil field or as a soldier or a cop and you take your clothes off and they smell like ammonia.
That's the byproduct of breaking down protein. So that's why you smell like ammonia.
And that means you're not eating enough. And a lot of the time, your body type that stems from that is not the male underwear model skinny, like heroin chic. It's literally a dude with skinny arms, skinny legs, and a distended, like heavy, viscerally fat belly. A lot of that is because your body's really stuck in this weird place where it's like, well, I have to burn muscle, but also like I'm holding on to fat because I don't want to burn muscle because it's not efficient. You just have to like lift and eat right. Appropriate fueling, whether you're trying to lose or gain, is how you get where you want to go.
Very true. That is the key component that a lot of these people are missing. Whether you're an ectomorph, an endomorph, hard gainer, hard loser, that is the key component, is the nutrition. You can't out-train a bad diet. Nutrition is such a large component for your training for either side of the spectrum, whether you're a hard gainer or a hard loser. It is important to keep your nutrition in check. And if you don't, you may be fighting against yourself, and it may make it a lot harder to reach the goals that you're intending.
Just eat, motherfucker. Just eat.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, this is the message of the entire video.
Just eat. Don't be hungry.
If you're eating because you feel bad about yourself, or because you're unhappy, or because you're bored, you're probably going to get fatter. If you're eating not enough because you're not happy with who you are, or because you're too busy, or because of any other reason, if you're hungry and you want to change your body, you're probably not eating enough.
Yeah, you just need to be not hungry. It's a lot easier said than done, but those who need to gain weight, oftentimes, like you said, they don't really like eating, and it is a chore too. It can be hard to consume the amount of calories that you need to in a day if you're a hard gainer.
Well, we're in a society where if you have inattentivity, you're taking Adderall, which is cutting back on your appetite. And if you're busy, you don't have time to eat, and in a place where your portions are fucked up. Like if you go to restaurants to eat, especially in America, portions are just crazy fucked. They're huge, right? And I think a lot of that is because people who are living off of a restaurant culture are typically only eating like one meal a day. Mm-hmm. So like their total caloric intake might not be that far off, but the way their body's processing that fuel is way out of kilter because they're in, they're fasting until they're eating this huge dinner. And so they may not see a huge fluctuation in weight, but people who are consistently eating on restaurant culture, lunch, dinner, possibly like Waffle House breakfast because it's fucking delicious. Those are people that are over consuming. And if your activity levels are high, then maybe it's okay. Maybe you're not seeing a difference. Maybe it really is getting in the way of your training in general. What are ways to address that in a sustainable way?
For portion size, if you think about your small intestine, this is where you're digesting most of your nutrients.
I love to think about the small intestine.
We love it. There's only so much surface area in your small intestine. So if you eat everything that you need in a day, it's just going to pass through your small intestine. Some of it will be digested, some of it won't be.
The extra is just going to pass right through.
The extra just passes right through. So essentially, you're paying for calories that your body's not absorbing or using. But if you were to eat the same amount of food, but spaced out maybe 4 to 6 times a day, you would be able to digest more of those nutrients than you would be able to if you just ate them all at once. Regardless of whether you're a hard gainer or a hard loser, you're ending up in this situation where your body is not utilizing the food that you're giving it.
Not in the way you want.
Not in the way you want, yeah. So it's either going through this continuous cycle of not using it at all or just burning it because you have a really high metabolism, or you're storing it as fat, which is not your goal in the end either if you're a hard loser. With that being said, both types of individuals need to find tools in order to stay in their caloric range that they need to meet their goals. Weighing your food just for a little bit of time, not all of the time, but so that you can get a good gauge of how much food or calories you're actually putting on your plate and in your mouth. Tracking your food, using a log like MyFitnessPal, or just keeping a food diary and writing it down is just making the association of the real life example and numbers on a spreadsheet so that you can build awareness to what you're putting in your body and how it affects the goals that you are striving to meet.
So what you're saying is that if one had access to a nutrition app that outlined your food and macronutrient goals based on your body type desires and gave you recipes and broke it down for you day by day for months at a time, one would be able to accomplish their fitness goals more easily than hypothetically just continuing to stuff food in their mouth or not stuff food in their mouth to get where they want to be.
100%.
It's weird that that app exists, and it's called the SOFLETE training app, and it only costs you $34 a month to get where you want. If you were to give someone who is a hard loser an appropriate caloric intake diet, they would tell you, well, that's too much food.
Most likely.
And if you talk to someone who's a hard gainer and you gave them an appropriate caloric intake diet, they'd be like, how am I supposed to eat that much food? Mm-hmm. And you're saying, hey man, it's a lot easier for you to figure out what you should be eating if you write down what you're currently eating. If you keep a journal or you use My Macro Plus or Macros Plus or MyFitnessPal, whatever app it is that gets your juices going. We don't do that on our app. You can set up a custom macro count, or you can use the one that's pre-set up for you based on where you want your body to go. And all your meals are set up for you, weighed for you by size. All you have to do is buy the stuff at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And it's there. You prep the meals, you eat the meals. It kind of takes that step out for you because it's forcing you to consume the right amount of food, which may seem like too much or too little for you, depending on what you're trying to do. But it is the right amount of food. And it's complemented by appropriate training programs, which put you on the right path. And if you need more tweaking later, like if you hit a wall and you feel like you're not seeing a body change you want, then it's time for you to talk about like custom macro counts and like genetic deficiencies or irregularities. But the reality is that 90+% of people that need nutritional changes are just not aware of what they're doing.
Nutrition is the connection. If you are not tracking your nutrition, it's going to be a lot harder to see the goals that you're working for, or you may not see them at all. So stop being a hard loser or a hard gainer and connect your nutrition to your training, reach your goals.
If you guys like this video and you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. Like this video and sign up for the SOFLETE app. I'm not bullshitting you. It's worth every penny.